Josh Groban has sold millions of albums, performs on Broadway, in TV and films, and now he has a new Netflix show and a new CD. I talked to him about what he loves best and being at the right place at the right time. Josh, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You have so much going on.
Yeah.
There's a new album,
Yes.
Bridges, a
Yes.
tour,
Yeah.
the show The Good Cop
Yeah.
on Netflix,
Yeah.
a children's educational charity. We're
That's
just
right.
checking down the list.
Yeah.
What's the secret to sort of juggling all that stuff?
Well, I mean, I am bored easily. I like to stay excited about things. I like to find new things to be scared about and learn from. I don't know. I think you have to have blinders on and not believe the good hype, not believe the bad hype. Just enjoy doing what you love and be endlessly curious about stuff.
Well, it would be easy to release an album. I don't know, easy, but it would be expected to release an album every year and a half, something like that.
Sure.
And that could be a perfectly satisfying career for most people.
Absolutely, and it would be for me, and it has been. But I also think the business is changing in that I think that, you know, on the one hand, it's harder to sell music now than it was. I mean, I was lucky that for the first 10 years of my career, I was in the kind of the golden age of sales, and those sales just don't exist anymore for anybody. It's just we're in a transition time right now for the music business. So you rely on other things like touring and stuff to get out there to the fans. With the internet and with streaming and Netflix and things like that, if you've got something to say, there's a place for you to say it, and then you can find your audience that wants to hear it.
I also think that with the internet, fans get to know you in a way that they wouldn't have been able to 15, 20 years ago.
Well, you can send that tweet, and it's the same. That tweet is the same. Sometimes the same text I would send my best friend at 1 in the morning. And it's a way to kind of have a bit more of a connection to your fan base that is less superficial, less hey, here's my face staring you down on a billboard. It's a chance to show personality.
Do you ever get used to that? I mean, you live in New York. Do you ever get used to being in Times Square and seeing your face staring down at you?
No, are you kidding? It's always incredible to see that. I mean, it's just anytime that happens, I think for any of us, you just go back to like your child self when you were walking through Times Square, walking down Sunset Boulevard or something, and you just wow, that guy's got a new album out, cool, and then you see your face on there, and it's just it's a childhood dream come true to see that, and it just like I said, to have done this now, it's my 8th album, to be out there like that this many years into the business. I've seen a revolving door of artists, executives, anything in between, and I've been lucky enough to keep my head down and keep doing my thing, and I've still got people who want to see it and hear it. So when I see that, it's just a reminder of how lucky I am.
Now, you have said that a career like yours requires working really, really, really hard when no one is looking.
I think it's kind of a paraphrase of a Henry Ford quote or something like that, where it's like, integrity is when you do the right thing when nobody's looking, or something like that. But it's based on the same thing, which is that the real blood, sweat, and tears, people don't see. They don't see that side of it. They don't see the tearing out the pages and throwing them across the room. They don't see the sacrificial goat. They don't see the really the frustration and the self-criticism and all the wrong things that happen in order to find the right thing to happen. But that's not for them to see. My job, my privilege is that I get to show it when it's shiny and new and the way I want it, and that's all I ever want it to be. But I do think that when I've been able to meet people that I respect, really artists, old and new, who've been in this business for 50 years, the one thing they all have in common is that they never stop believing in that fact, that they always have this sparkle in their eye to try new things, to stay scared, to never rest on their laurels.
We talk about validation in some interviews that I've seen with you, and that you don't really rely on validation to I guess, chart the course of your career. You just go
I rely on the right kinds of validation.
Right.
I rely on respect from my peers. I rely on my fans being passionately interested in what I do. I'm not so obtuse as to say like none of that matters, because it does. It's for them. It's not. I'm not. I always find that the right blend for me of making music is that if I can make songs that are personal and honest and true to myself, but still have the universal way of being the soundtrack to somebody else's story, then I've made a successful song or a successful album. And that kind of validation is great. When I play a concert and I feel like at the end of the night they don't want us to leave, that's the kind of validation I really, really like. But as far as like being part of the fad machine and the hype machine and, you know, being invited to the party, you know, that stuff comes and goes so fast that it's not a clear meter of the most healthy definitions of success.
Did it take you a while to figure that out?
It did, yeah, sure,
yeah,
because I was signed at, you know, 17, 18,
yeah.
And I found myself quite early on being kind of an alien in this business. You know, I read a lot of things. I read things that were good. I read things that were dismissive, and it put me in a place of like kind of not knowing what to make of myself. And I was looking so much at external stuff for me to figure out my own self-worth. And at the same time, I was selling 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. Like I just kept going out there and just killing it. And so at some point, I just said to myself, you know, to have a nuanced and healthy and exciting and interesting career, you have to sometimes do stuff that you can't win everybody, you know? And there are times where I've had the most critically acclaimed things of my life that have sold nothing. And there are times where I've had people go, oh, here's this doofus, you know? And wake up grandma, Groban's back. And then I'll look at Madison Square Garden on 15,000 people of all ages, you know? So, you know, it really is the kind of thing where you have to just focus on those things.
So you're getting ready to tour with Bridges now, the new album. How do you prepare for that? I mean, it must turn your life upside down completely.
It does. I like the structure of it. I like the muscle memory of it. Broadway was harder. You know.
Was it?
Yeah.
Even though you're sleeping in your own bed every night?
Yeah. The hotel beds are more comfortable. I sleep on the couch at home. You know, 8 shows a week was a lot.
Yeah.
It's hard on your body. Touring is really hard. I have to train for it like a marathon because unlike Broadway, you're doing 17 songs, 18 songs in a night. You're playing huge venues. It's a lot of energy to expel on a night-to-night basis. But you do get days off. You know, you get to explore the world. You get to you know, see the world through the lens of bringing people together through music. So, you know, every time I release an album, I get to then enjoy giving that album to people live for the first time. And so you get that new energy. That's the validation. I said it's just so great, is when you feel them singing along to every song that just a month ago was a thought in your head. That's a cool feeling.
That is a cool thing. You know, is there a moment ever when you're on stage and you're playing one of these things and people are enjoying it and you can feel that the audience is digging this thing, that you think back, remember when this was, you know, a note on a piece of paper? And
totally.
Absolutely.
I just played Hyde Park in London, and I did a new song called River, and, you know, 30,000 people were singing along, and that was like 3.5 weeks ago. I had just dropped that song just a week prior, and 2 months prior to that, I was singing it into my iPhone, walking down to the Hudson River, having a really crap day. And so those are the moments where you just, you know, you say to yourself, like, this is sorcery. What we do is just pure sorcery. We're just able to have, like, something comes from thin air, and we just go, la, la, la. And then next thing you know, you got 50,000 people going, la, 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 you know, and it's like, you know, if I wasn't so self-critical, I'd have an ego.
You studied theater?
I did.
Did Fiddler on the Roof when you were 12, all, you know, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
But the quote that I read was, from a child, you wanted to be the one up there telling stories, always. And you do that now in various ways, between the songs, the new Netflix television show, the tour. Is everything connected in various ways, or do you see them all as separate parts of a larger whole?
They're separate crafts. I mean, there's very different processes that go into doing any one of those things. But the connectivity of all of them is what you said, that storytelling, is that magic thing that happens when you are able to, you know, climb into another person's story, and that live thing that happens, that when I was that kid sitting and watching theater and there was just something, there's a buzz in the room. Anybody who's experienced great theater or a great concert, or the lack of buzz when you experience something that's not that great, but when it's great, and there's just an energy in the room that just permeates and slowly starts to dissipate as people are filing out, but it just carries with you. That's the good stuff, and that's something that can't be, it's just intangible, but it's magic, and that was something I recognized when I was a kid. I just said, I want to make that stuff.
Education seems to be under fire all over the place. I think, you know, when people look at a big balance sheet, they go, oh, we don't need to teach kids how to dance, you know. But you have your own foundation to help young people in terms of getting an education in the arts. Why is it so important just to people? I mean, not everyone's going to grow up to be Josh Groban. So
no, nor should they be. It's not about finding the next star. It's using art as a tool the same way you use any other curriculum as a tool. When kids study English, it's not because they're going to be the next William Shakespeare. It's because this curriculum combined together teaches young people about themselves, teaches them about the world, and what better class than the arts to build self-confidence, to build self-expression, to teach young people, especially in this divisive cable news, Twitter hatred-filled world that they're growing up in. I didn't have to have that stuff as a kid. It's 10 times worse now. To teach them about empathy and about the things that combine, you know, unite us and our common humanity.
What were you like as a student?
I was full of questions. I was deeply engaged, but I was also fully aware that I had to learn in a different way. I had ADD, so I was not the most focused in class in the way that people normally do things. I realized very early on I was an audiovisual learner. I had to do things. I had to like read a book and then listen back to it in order to fully get it. And so I had a little bit of a hard time figuring out my system. But ultimately, you know, it got better as I got the arts. I mean, that was, as I had more teachers that pulled me out from the back of the class, that shy kid who wasn't quite sure if he was good in school, and suddenly I was able to sing that solo, or I was able to get that role. And my grades went up. It changed everything. And so I've experienced it firsthand.
And Fiddler on the Roof?
Fiddler on the Roof was 17, not 12.
Oh, 17.
That would have been odd.
Tradition! I have 5 daughters.
I would pay to see that show.
I truly would pay to see that, and I hope that an elementary school somewhere is doing Fiddler on the Roof, because it's a great story. But no, I was 17. I was a very skinny Tevye, and boy, that was, I'll never forget that. I had to glue a beard on because I couldn't grow one myself at that age. But it was, that was just transformative for me. That was the first time I really felt attached to my voice. And, you know, I mean, that was the year that David asked me to go sing with Celine. So I was a student doing a high school musical and had to suddenly be thrust into this hugely professional, high-pressure world. So, you know, I had a lot to balance at that age.
And what was going through last school? What was going through your head at that moment? That because
with Celine?
Yeah, 17 years old.
I mean, you're terrified, you're nervous, but at the same time, it wasn't in my head as a big break. I think that was a good thing. It wasn't like I was auditioning for The Voice. It wasn't like I was thinking to myself, "This is my moment. I better not mess it up." I was just thinking, just this is so crazy. This is so crazy. Just do the best you can, Josh. This is just so crazy. I was nervous. But never in my wildest dreams did I think that I'd be going home that afternoon with a record deal in my future. So that worked that blissful naivete worked to my advantage. Celine also was just so kind. She saw that I was a little shaky, so she took my hand, and she had no idea that some kid was going to come and sing with her. She thought she was singing with Andrea Bocelli that day. So for her to just like kind of immediately get it, oh, I see what's going on here. This is a student. David's brought him in. David always does this. And I'm going to not just be somebody who has to worry about my Grammy performance tomorrow, I'm also going to be a mentor today. For her to switch gears like that, for me, meant so much, and has always meant that, and I've let her know that many times.
She started young. She must have understood.
Totally,
you know.
totally. She gets it. Yeah, she gets it. And David discovered her very young. You know, so you know, it's a wonderful family tree of people who get it that I've had around me, and I'm very lucky for that.
Josh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Great talking to you.
Pleasure.
Yeah, appreciate it.